Hi, I'm Giuliano. It's a beautiful day here in Shoreditch. We're gonna make some cupcakes today. This is my assistant, Andy. Andy is an expert in wine and is phenomenal with cocktails, so hopefully we're gonna make something good today.
And I'm going to be putting some lovely drink combinations to bring out the best in them.
Yeah, I think we should start with a cocktail because we're all very like, need something.
Okay, what do you fancy?
What should we do?
Espresso martini?
Voila, let's do that.
Great.
Alright, so let's have some cocktails.
Okay, so we're going to do a Shoreditch take on the espresso martini because we're going to have a vanilla vodka in there as well, just to give it a little bit something sweeter. So to start with, we put in to our lovely ice shaker. Nice bit of ice there just to keep it cool. Now I've just made some espresso, which is lovely, so the ice will cool it down nicely. You can hear it crackle. And we take the little hats off our bottles. And to that, so it's basically one part, one part, one part, so it's nice and easy. But I normally like to do big parts. So there's our vanilla vodka. And now the Kahlua. So another big part of that. And then, I'm making a mess here. That goes into the cocktail shaker. Put the lid on. Good. Vigorous shake. Ooh, and I can feel it getting really cold now as well. And so we take 2 chilled martini glasses. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Put these out here. Take the top off, if I can. There we go. And we pour straight into here. Hopefully.
That's gonna be a good way for us to start because we have a lot of baking to do today. So,
a few coffee beans. Just floating in them. Our chilled espresso vanilla martinis. Cheers.
Oh, it's delicious. Alright, so I will leave my drink here and let me introduce you guys to the ingredients. We're gonna have here 200 grams of plain flour. It is always good to have precision, one of those precision scales. If you can afford one, you just follow the recipe with the cups and it's gonna be very easy. We're also going to do for this 40 grams of cocoa powder. This cocoa powder is so easy to find. Just get the best cocoa powder you can find at whatever one of the supermarkets you use. All of the big 4 ones would have it. Castor sugar, just simple regular castor sugar. There's gonna be 280 grams here, but that will be the equivalent of, I shouldn't have said that because I don't know. But you can follow up on the recipes that we're going to put a list at the end of the show, so you're gonna have it on that. As you can see here, we have some strawberries and blueberries. Those are going to be for different cupcakes because now we're going to be producing just the chocolate base. Most of the recipes for cupcakes, whenever you do it, I always recommend that you sieve through all of the ingredients together, the dry ingredients that is. So in this case, we're going to have, we can actually mix them all first in one bowl. Alright, so how much do we have of flour here, darling?
We have 200 grams of plain flour.
200 grams, why don't you come here? 200 grams of plain flour. To that we are going to add the sugar. So how much are we using for sugar?
For sugar, we use 280 grams of castor sugar.
And he's not even looking at the recipe. So 280 grams of castor sugar. So if you follow this recipe exactly as it is, you will get a good result, I promise you. Cocoa powder you can find everywhere these days. All of the big 4 here in the UK would have it. I just always try to get the best cocoa powder I can possibly get. So I believe this is probably Cadbury's. Is that how you pronounce it? Alright, so we can just put it right through. How much do we have here?
That's 40 grams of cocoa.
40 grams of cocoa powder. the other dry ingredients, that's gonna be baking powder. So I believe for this recipe is 3 teaspoons of baking powder, right?
Correct.
So I'm going to teach you just how precise we have to be. So you get the baking powder, make sure that you scrape off whatever is out of the spoon. And there you go. 1, 2, 3. So we make sure that we actually pass that whole mixture through the sieve. You can also do something before you pass it through the sieve. You take one of the whisks and just mix it a little bit so that you have the ingredients a little bit more mixed together. And then we're going to make a cloud of powder here. So we are going to pass it through the sieve. So basically, just drop it through. Whenever the ingredients that you get at the supermarkets right these days, if it's not on big packages, you wouldn't even have to do this process because it's already like very fluffy. But I'll do it anyways, just to ensure that we're gonna get a good product at the end. So don't be lazy when you're baking. Now, butter. These dry ingredients will go into the stand mixer, and it needs to be at room temperature. So make sure to leave your butter out overnight. Just don't leave it under the sun or anything like that. But it has to be room temperature. So we're going to measure 80 grams of butter, I believe, is on the recipe. So let's get our little scale. That should be right there.
There we go.
Yep. So one of these, they're cheap. 20, 18, 15, whichever one you want. They're all like just a few pounds. This is probably gonna be a little over 80. Yep, it's 90. So we'll take a little piece out. 80. There you go. We actually gonna just drop this through with the rest of the ingredients. And for this recipe, it should get into a sandy consistency. So we're basically just going to use always in very slow motion. So I'm going to use on power 1. We'll get a little bit of a cloud of dust here. There we go. In the meantime, we'll have a little cocktail. Now we're going to make the wet ingredients. We're just gonna mix the wet ingredients. So we're going to need 2 eggs. 1, 2. You hold this.
Okay.
Yes, darling. Here we go. So you just put the egg right in the milk.
And we've got 240 ml of milk in there.
Yep. We have 240 ml of milk, 2 eggs. We're gonna put half teaspoon of vanilla in here. And like I always recommend, you just measure it outside so that it doesn't. So let's give it a quick whisk. Okay, so in this case, after you got the ingredients the dry ingredients into a sandy consistency, you're just gonna put it into low speed, and then gradually you basically just drop about half of the wet mixture very slowly into the dry ingredients until it gets completely incorporated. At this point, we don't have any lumps in the batter. It looks, right, absolutely phenomenal. So one of the secrets about baking, especially these cupcakes, is never ever overbeat. You have to make sure that you just get the ingredients incorporated and that's it. And then you have to know when to stop. So After you saw how beautiful the batter was looking, right? So now we're just gonna have it pour slowly again, the second half, now that all the lumps are gone, except that we didn't get any lumps. And as soon as we get the ingredients mixed up, you stop it, and then we can actually put them into some liners. Okay, so you just open up, make sure that you get all of the things out, everything, that you don't have anything sticking down to the bottom of the bowl. So get that out. Let's clear this up. So spoon, get one full, put it right in. 1, 2, 3, that's a big one. But we're gonna have to fill a little bit more on the other ones. Go. That. We're gonna have to preheat the oven to 170 Celsius. So would you mind doing that, Cocktail?
There we go. Perfect.
Yep. Very soon, you're going to have a phenomenal cupcake. They should be very moist, so you don't ever want to overcook them. These are going to go to the oven at 170 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. And I'll teach you a little trick to make sure they are ready. So basically, whenever the 20 minutes are up, you just give them a little touch on top. If it doesn't spring back, that means it's not ready. So we are good to go. Oven it is. All right, so in it goes. And very soon we're gonna have phenomenal looking cupcakes. All right, so while we have the other cupcakes in the oven and they are looking really good, we're going to make a vanilla-based batter. This vanilla-based batter recipe is also from Hummingbird Bakery. It's phenomenal. I tweaked it a little bit, but you can find exactly the way we produced it today into the Facebook. So, just like before, let's mix the dry ingredients together. So, 240 grams of flour and sugar.
280 grams of caster sugar.
280 grams. Here it goes. And then we're going to measure 3 teaspoons of the baking powder. Just like I said before, we have to always make sure that the baking powder is precise. Scrape whatever is on top of it and just drop it right in. 1, 2, 3. 2 pinches of salt. So here we go. 1, 2. Just pass the whisk through a little bit just to get the ingredients mixed before you sieve it. So now that it's ready, we're just going to, okay. This way you get a very fluffy cake and the ingredients very well mixed together. I think our chocolate cupcakes are almost ready. We're gonna see how beautiful they look.
They smell amazing.
All right, so we have all the dry ingredients here. So let's bring right back to our fabulous pink stand mixer. And on top of everything, there's going to be 80 grams of butter. Already. In this portion of the recipe, you should have these dry ingredients mix into a very sandy consistency together with the butter. So I just normally use the lowest speed possible.
We can break some eggs.
While this is going on, we can actually put together the wet ingredients. Alright, our chocolate cupcakes are almost ready. So let's just prepare the wet mixture for the wet ingredients for the vanilla cupcakes. In this case, we recommend that you separate the 240 mLs just by look. Just make it into half and half. So about one, a little less. That's good. All right, so into this mixture, we are going to put 2 eggs. Yep, bravo. One. Two. And now the vanilla. We're gonna put half teaspoon of vanilla in here. And like I always recommend, you just measure it outside so that it doesn't. Bravo. And I think it's time for us to take our chocolate cupcakes out. So stop whatever you're doing because you don't want to overcook them. Here we go. Okay, like I said before, let's make sure that the cupcakes are completely cooked. So, ooh, they look beautiful. One of the ways to do it, so you get them out without burning yourself, and then look how nice they look. You just touch them on top. If they spring back, look like they're doing here, it's ready. So here we have fabulous cupcakes. Pour this portion of the mix because the first that goes in is the milk by itself. So let's put this one back in again. And here we go. So we're going to slowly pour the milk into the dry ingredients. As you can see, it's starting to come together. At this point, we want to make sure that we get rid of any lumps, so you can speed it up slightly, and the batter is becoming very, very smooth. And voila! Now we're going to line some cupcake trays and just start preparing the blueberry cupcakes, which should be delicious. And a very phenomenal cream cheese frosting coming right up. Alright, so let's fill in the vanilla cupcake. So like I said, we can just use like about 2 spoons for each cup. These little white liners are slightly bigger, so we just make sure that we have enough. Like I said, should be about 3/4 of the cup, no more than that, otherwise it will go over. Oh, I think our neighbor arrived. Sometimes you can just use frozen blueberries if you have them. I like to use them fresh. And then you can just put about 3 in each one. This is going to make the batter really tinted into a beautiful blueberry color. Don't put too many, otherwise it will affect the actual cupcake. I cover them a little bit just to make sure that they are under the batter and not exploding out. So basically you can just do something like this. Okay. The oven is at 170 degrees Celsius, and this is ready to go in. Okay. All right, the oven is at 170 degrees. Now we're going to put these babies in. In about 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to have phenomenal blueberry cupcakes. Yum. Bravo. It's been 24 minutes, and I believe the cupcakes are pretty good. Ooh. They look phenomenal. So like I said, to test it, if they spring back, just like they're doing now, that's it. They're ready. So, we can take them off. Oh yeah. And now, they are ready for the frosting that we're going to learn how to make it right after this. Bravo! Alright, so now that we have our delicious cupcakes ready, we're going to produce the stuff that is going to give it a little jazz. We're going to make Brazilian brigadeiro to fill the cupcakes. One of them is going to be with macadamia nuts, the other one with cocoa powder and condensed milk. We're going to produce a cream cheese frosting, which is absolutely velvety and delicious. And in addition to that, we're going to make a Belgian chocolate ganache. Alright, so you know when you go to a bakery that you love so much and you walk in and you just take one of those amazing carrot cakes, that frosting on top is a cream cheese frosting. I have learned how to make several different types, but this one is my favorite. So take a look. We're going to need a freestanding mixer or a handheld mixer, whichever one you have it in your house. And it's basically butter, the icing sugar, and then we're going to put the cream cheese, which should be cold. Alright, so let's begin.
So icing sugar.
600 grams of icing sugar. Make sure that you get icing sugar, because none of the other sugars will work as well. Okay, if we can get any of that sugar in, we're gonna have a good frosting, I can promise. Almost there. I'll give you some help.
There we go.
Yeah, you can just get rid of those lumps.
We don't need the balls.
Alright. Now we're going to put the butter in. How much butter do we have here?
We have 100 grams.
100 grams
unsalted
of
butter.
Unsalted butter. Okay. And we're going to start very slowly because the sugar will fly all over the place. So after it is well combined, you're going to put the cream cheese, which is 250 grams. You're just gonna put it just out of the refrigerator, cold, just all at once. Alright? We're almost there. Give it one more time. The scrapes on the side. And this is going to be amazing, nice and fluffy. Okay, so grab your cream cheese or preference. I love this one. Just dump it right in all at once. Now I can see that the cream cheese is starting to incorporate well with the sugar and is beginning to become more like a dough. When we get to this stage, you want to make sure that you speed up to the moment when it gets really nice and fluffy. About 5 minutes will be enough. There is a couple of secrets that I like for my frosting. I put a pinch of salt. Just sprinkle it everywhere. And a tiny little bit of vanilla. Just like a tiny little bit of vanilla. Just to give it a little extra punch of flavor. Alright? Now we're gonna beat for another 30-40 seconds, and it's ready. All right, so let's get it going. Okay, now we're going to learn how to make ganache. And ganache, it is very delicious. I think it was invented either in Belgium or in France. It's basically chocolate with whipping cream, and it softens, and you can have several different types of consistency. My favorite one, it's a blend of 400 grams of milk chocolate and 100 grams of very bittersweet chocolate. In this case, we are using 85% cocoa on the 100 grams of the bittersweet, and like I said, 400 grams of milk chocolate. For that, we're going to use basically the ratio here for this specific ganache. It's 2:1. So 500 grams of chocolate, you would use then 250 grams of whipping cream, just regular whipping cream. And we can actually just use the microwave because it's that easy. 2 minutes should be enough. So we're just going to put this on high for 2 minutes. Okay. Yep. All right, so we have the milk. It got just about to boil, and basically what you do now,
Cream, yeah.
is the whipping cream, yeah. Then you just pour it over the chocolate, and now we're gonna have to let it melt. About 5 minutes. It's been about 5 minutes. Because we are making such a small amount of ganache, it should be okay by now. Obviously, if you're making a larger batch, then you would have to wait a little longer because we want to make sure that the chocolate is melted. Now, this is really important. When you're making ganache, make sure first that everything is dry. You don't want to get any water into your ganache because that could create several different problems. So basically, also what you don't want is to put too much air in here, and it will be very delicious. Ganaches are very versatile. You can make lots of stuff with them. So if you do movements just forward and backwards is better than around. Around would have a lot of air inside. So we're just gonna get this very smooth. And this is something that you would have to do ahead of time because you have to wait for the ganache to sit properly before you can frost any cupcakes. So this is going to be enough to frost or to cover a very large cake, or to frost about 20 cupcakes, 24 cupcakes. It's really, you just want to submerge into that. I love chocolate ganache. It's such a beauty. So once the ganache is ready, you would have something like this. This one has been overnight, just resting. And basically, it's a beautiful chocolate that you can work with a spatula, which is absolutely perfect to cover cupcakes with. So we're going to do a lot of that in a few minutes. I'm going to teach you guys how to make brigadeiros, Brazilian brigadeiros. They are delicious. So for that you would need 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. So just put that right in. Can I get the spatula, Crocodile? Here we go. And just get me a spoonful of butter. Alright, so basically we're just gonna put a little bit of butter in here. And this is going to go on the microwave for about 6 minutes. So here we go. Now, before we turn it on, we need to make sure that you don't let it run 6 minutes through. So basically at 2 minutes and a half, or whenever you see that it's boiling too much, make sure that you use a very tall glass, because otherwise it will go all over the place. This tends to boil a lot. So there we go. High, whatever you get in yours. Here is 800, and then turn it on. Set it for 6 minutes and keep following. All right, it's been about 3 minutes and we're just gonna take a look. As you can see, it's boiling. Obviously, I'm just holding the glass from high on the top. I wouldn't recommend you do that. We're just gonna give it a quick stir. So we're just gonna stir it a little bit. It would need about 3 more minutes to be ready. And this is just you saw, this is basically just condensed milk with butter. Back to the microwave for another 3 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 6 minutes. We're going to take the brigadeiro out. And now this is ready for flavoring. So we're going to separate it into 2 portions. One of them is going to be flavored with chocolate and the other one with delicious macadamias. As you can see, it's very nice and smooth. Now this is gonna harden as it sits, so we want that. Okay, we're gonna get one of these spoons and just take a couple out for the macadamia. And the rest we can just flavor on this one. Okay, all right, thank you. So we're going to put 1 full spoon of cocoa powder into this portion. Just like that. Should be enough. Maybe a teeny bit more. It's gonna be delicious. The brigadeiros, you can also roll it into little truffles. They're so incredible, but they're very versatile. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so here we have brigadeiro with cocoa powder. And here we have a plain brigadeiro, which I'm going to mix with macadamias for one of the cupcake fillings. Here we go. You can just grab it with your hand, drop it right in. That's gonna give a very nice crunchy. And mix it all. So, as you can see, very lumpy because of the macadamias. Now this has to be cold before you can put it into the cupcake, so I have prepared some ahead of time. Before we do that, let's just give it a quick mix with the cocoa powder. It's gonna be nice and dark and delicious. Okay. The first cupcake we're going to make is the macadamia one. So we're just gonna have 3 right now. You take one of them. With a melon baller, you just make it a little hole in the center. You take the top out and keep it. Now we're going to clear a little bit out. As you can see, the cake is nice and moist. If your cake doesn't turn out very moist, you can always use a little bit of simple syrup to make it moist. Right now, we would just take one of the macadamia filling, which is the macadamia brigadeiro, it's delicious, and we're going to use a spoon to get a little filling in. This is delicious. So we're just gonna do it right like this. Okay. Now you can use that little lid to cover. And in the refrigerator, we have the cream cheese frosting, which is going to cover the whole thing. All right, so here we have a filled macadamia, filled. Come in here. All right, so basically, we're going to get the cream cheese frosting, which is this deliciousness here. Just grab a little bit. And then we're going to cover the cupcake with it. Just like that. You don't have to be stingy. This is very delicious. Okay. All right. All right. To finish it off, you're going to pass the border of the cupcake into crushed beautiful macadamia pieces, and you will top it off with a nice macadamia. Then we are just gonna roll it around the macadamia pieces, and voila, we have another cupcake. There you go. Phenomenal macadamia filled with macadamia brigadeiro chocolate cupcakes and cream cheese frosting. Now we're going to make the blueberry cupcakes. As you can see, they exploded inside of the batter, so it looks like a Dalmatian cupcake. It's really delicious. And this cupcake is very, very moist. But like I said, if your cupcake doesn't turn out moist, with the help of a brush and a very nice maraschino, or not with the blueberries, but like a simple syrup would just help it perfectly. In this case, we are going to do the blueberry cupcakes. All right, so amazing cream cheese frosting. Get the cupcake easily. You spread it all over. This is delicious. The cupcake is nice and moist. I always make sure that I cover the cake completely. In that case, you actually keep the moist in as well. Alright, while our mint arrives, we're just going to show you how to decorate the blueberry cupcakes. So you basically just grab a couple of beautiful blueberries, put them close to each other around the center. If you have tiny ones, just like this one, you can put it into 3. Just do whichever way you like. Like that. So 2 big ones and a small one. And now, before this, you're going to sprinkle the sugar before the mint, because you want the mint to be live, not with the thing. So basically just drop a little bit of sugar on top of the cupcake. There you go. And then you choose tiny pieces of the mint. Okay. And voila! Blueberry cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. Okay, now we're going to produce the chocolate. It's a devil's food chocolate cupcake. and it's going to be filled with chocolate brigadeiro and moist with maraschino. There is something called liquid glucose, or corn syrup as it is mostly called in the US. So basically, you get a little bit of your ganache that is soft, or just take a little bit from the one that is hard already, and then you drop it in. Okay, a little more. So you just want to make sure that you warm it up a tiny little bit. Just about 10-20 seconds. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to put a little bit of this. You want to make sure that you have a very shiny chocolate. And this I learned with Martha Stewart. And crocodile with a fork. Just make sure to mix this a little bit. Grab your cupcake. Make a little hole in it. Okay, just like the other ones. Now we're going to need the brigadeiro. Here, you just grab a little bit like this. Drop it right in. Without this ganache, feel free not to use anything as well, because it is a lot of sweet. I like it sweet. So it is really incredible taste. Here we go. Now we're going to cover it first. And in this case, we're going to use the maraschino to moisten it off. Yep. All right, time to cover up the cupcake. All right, we want to smooth it out. And now, time for the magic. Just submerge the cupcake into the beautiful chocolate, and look what we have. It's amazing, shiny. Choose a beautiful strawberry. Why not this one? And voila! Chocolate cupcake covered with Belgian chocolate ganache. Delicious. And filled with Brazilian brigadeiro. Yum! For the vanilla cupcakes, we will need 200 grams of plain flour, 280 grams of caster sugar, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 pinches of salt, 80 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature, 240 ml of whole milk, 2 eggs, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. For the cream cheese frosting, you will need 600 grams of icing sugar sifted, 100 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature, and 250 grams of cream cheese cold. For this ganache, we are going to need 250 grams of whipping cream, 400 grams of milk chocolate, and 100 grams of bittersweet chocolate.
I'm getting cream cheese in my beard.
Bye!